Now, how about them damn Celtics?
And we are back with another episode of How About Them Celtics. Sam and I are here recording Monday, August 4th, middle of the off season, but we're here to talk Celtics basketball. How you doing, Sam?
Doing good. Excited as you can be in August. We are in hell, but we're here. Shout out to Jack for just the great player series ideas. We actually shout out to Tice, who kind of pitched it to us in the First to Floor Discord. Today we're doing Baylor Scheierman. We'll talk about our expectations for him going into next season, his floor, his ceiling. We'll go through that. We'll go through the latest around the NBA. We will check your emails, and then we'll do the rat list and get out of here. Make sure you stick around through all of it. Subscribe to the channel. We are here every single day. Full pods drop Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Game recaps up more after each game. And other videos are here in between to keep you up to date with all things Celtics. But won't hold it up anymore. We can get into it. Baylor Scheierman, going into his sophomore season as a pro, had an interesting showing at Summer League, and now he's going to have plenty of minutes looking him right in the face with Tatum out.
Yeah, Scheierman should have a big year, will have the opportunity to have a big year incoming. Obviously, at the end of last season, he got a ton of opportunities to play, sort of jumped to the front of that end of the bench young guys rotation of who do the Celtics really want to take a look at. And heading into the next season, no Tatum, no Drew Holiday, no Kristaps, no Al Horford. You're going to need guys who have the ball in their hands a little bit more. You're going to need guys to take some of those shots, to make some of those plays for you, to create some of those 2-on-1s, to make some passes, and Baylor Scheierman can do a little bit of all of that. So I think the chances for Baylor Scheierman will absolutely be there. You saw him effectively be given the keys to the Celtics Summer League team, and obviously it was the second Summer League, so you should want him in that situation. He didn't shoot that well, but outside of the shots not going in, he handled the ball all right, defensive pressure was all right, he passed okay. Like he was doing everything that was in his control, and it sounds silly to say that shot making isn't in a person's control, but sometimes the shots just don't fall. Like it happens. Steph Curry goes over 5 in a night. Like stuff happens, right? This season, he's going to have to do stuff like that with Boston, right? Obviously, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard probably going to have the ball in their hands almost all the time. But what happens when that action gets shut down? What happens when two of those guys are off the floor? Who's going to step up into a role where they're going to be able to, or going to have to, I should say, create for the Celtics offense? Baylor Scheierman, really, right? Like who else on this team is going to be a playmaker for them outside of Derek White and Peyton Pritchard? They don't really have another point guard on their roster at this point, unless you want to trust a rookie in Shoga or Hugo Gonzalez to do it. And I don't think either of those guys are ready to play at the NBA level. You're going to end up seeing some Baylor Scheierman minutes, probably at the one, probably with the ball in his hands as the Celtics' primary ball handler, and we're gonna have to see how it goes. And that's what we can talk about, but he's going to have the chances to be a real player for the Celtics team.
That is for sure. He's going to have to step up this year. He's going to step up, the old Simmons ESPN trope. But seriously, like the opportunity is really looking him right in the face. You have to be able to take advantage of it. In the NBA, there are only so many opportunities that come along when you're not like a bona fide first round lottery pick that teams believe that their entire future can rest on. Like, one thing Scheierman has going for him is, I think it was like back in March, like the first time we had Jake Fisher report on like the future destruction of the Celtics core. One of the things that was part of the report was, believe it, don't believe it, if they were to get rid of Drew Holiday, Baylor Scheierman is a guy that they really believe in that could step up and take on some of the responsibilities that would come along with Holiday's departure. With that being said, do I 100% feel he's ready to take on something like that? Maybe not yet, but I think like he is not the type of player that should only be measured based on whether or not the ball is going in, which you talked about. Like he's not Sam Hauser. Just because he's a white guy doesn't mean he's out there to just shoot threes. Scheierman has shown a really interesting ball handling package. He's somebody who has good vision. He's willing to make the extra connecting pass. He shoots decent off the dribble, so if he does get asked to create, he's a threat in those situations. And I think he could really benefit from being a backup ball handler on this team. The question really is Anthony Simons going to be here? If Anthony Simons is going to be here, whether you think he isn't or he is, then that might get in the way of Baylor Scheierman getting more opportunity, at least in that sort of role. And if that's the case, then catch and shoot is going to have to be something he's ready to show that he can do.
Yeah, I think Scheierman's going to play either way, right? Like Anthony Simons being there versus not being there, I don't think it, exiles Scheierman from the rotation. He's going to have to play for this basketball team because they simply don't have the bodies to play past him. I'm still operating under the assumption, at least in my opinion, I don't think Simons will be on the team. Maybe they don't find a trade for him, but I don't think it's for a lack of trying. I think they were trying to trade Simons. I think they've been trying to trade Simons. I just don't think teams want Simons. I don't think there's a market for that type of player right now. I guess Jordan Clarkson signed for a minimum. Colin Sexton got traded for Yusuf Nurkic, and maybe teams don't want that type of player anymore, right? So you could be backing yourselves into a bad position. But I don't know, right? Like if Simons is there, Scheierman's going to have to play more of that wing role. Like you said, he'll probably still have the ball in his hands a decent amount as a secondary creator, right? That leaves the Celtics with what, max 4 ball handlers that they're comfortable with: Jalen, Derek, Peyton, and Simons. If he is on the roster, what if one of them's out at night? What if 2 of them are off the court at one time, right? Like there's still going to be chances for Scheierman to have the ball in his hands. He is the next best creator on the team after those 4, right? And those 3 if Simons is not on the roster. So there's going to be chances for him. And then, I mean, the shot has to go down, right? Like at the end of the day, he has to be a good 3-point shooter if he wants to remain in the Celtics rotation long term, right? You can't be a streaky / subpar shooter if you want to play, right? You don't have to be Sam Hauser. You don't have to shoot 41% every night, but you have to be around that 35% ideally. He shot 31.7% from 3 last season in his in and out minutes. Didn't really play as soon as he got part of the regular rotation, like the final stretch of the season, March 15th in that Brooklyn game onwards. He did shoot 37% from 3 when he was getting regular minutes. He was playing 18 minutes per game, 4.2 threes a game, and 37.3% from deep in those 14 games, that 14 game stretch at the end of the season when he played. So if there's any solace or any, positive outlook, it should be that when he got consistent minutes, he was a pretty good 3-point shooter. 37% is not bad. Shot okay in Maine last year, as far as I remember. I need to double check the stats, but he was really good when he got his minutes with the Maine Celtics, to the point where he wasn't even playing with the Maine Celtics by the end of the season. He was just no longer going up there. In his time with Maine, if I take a quick look here, he averaged 25 games played with Maine. Shot 37.9% on 9.7 threes a game. Pretty good, right? Like he's been a good 3-point shooter at every level of basketball he's played at. It's just a matter of, can he do it in a spot where he's going to have more pressure on him, where he's going to have the ball in his hands, where he's going to have to shoot off the dribble a little bit, where he's going to have to catch and shoot a little bit, where his role might be different every night, right? There's going to be a lot of stuff fluctuating with this current Celtics team. The 3-point shot cannot be something that fluctuates with Baylor Scheierman, and that's not an easy skill to develop or have in general.
Yeah, and I mean, it is key in being part of the Celtics rotation. Unless you're 7 feet tall, typically the guys that play real minutes for Joe Mazzulla can shoot the shit out the ball, or they are superstars. It's one or the other. The good thing is, as you painted so clearly, he did a good job when he was enabled and given the space to make mistakes and not have to oh man, this is my one shot today, better make it. When he actually was in the rotation, he looked very comfortable. He had some great games towards the back end of the season. Were they playing the highest quality of teams after the All-Star break? No, they weren't. The teams weren't good. There's a big-time trope around late March, early April, or I would just say March basketball that isn't college, and April basketball that isn't the playoffs. That is you have to take it with a grain of salt, because there's so many teams resting guys that are trying to commit to a tank, or just guys trying to rest before the playoffs, whatever it may be. There's so many different players in and out of the lineups that maybe the sample size coming from there isn't the end-all, be-all, but at the same time, still have to make the shots when they're there. Even when the competition was low at Summer League, he wasn't making shots because it was just a different environment. So if he's asked to just be ready, be in situations where he can catch and shoot the ball, I have confidence that he'll be able to do so. I'm sure he knows the task that is in front of him too. I'm sure there's a lot of work being done on the jump shot, and all of the other things that come with his ability to shoot the ball make him even more of a threat as a shooter, because there is a threat that he can put the ball on the floor and he can make a good decision when he's going downhill. Not every guy that can shoot threes in the NBA has that, and that's a nice separator for him, if that makes sense. Like, just think of how Grant Williams, when he was in his final year with the Celtics, had just had this tremendous season where he was making all the threes, had a big game against the Bucks, and then all of a sudden he's like, watch all the other stuff I have in my bag. And it didn't go well. When he tried to do things that weren't shooting threes, it was detrimental to the team. He was turning the ball over when he was trying to drive closeouts. Scheierman isn't somebody you should expect to have trouble driving closeouts. It's just a question of whether or not he can get defenses to commit to closing out hard on him and being a consistent threat from three-point land. That is like the biggest task.
Yeah, I mean, Scheierman was a primary ball handler in college for both of his teams. He was that at Creighton, at South Dakota State. I almost wanted to say North Dakota State. South Dakota State. He played with the ball in his hands a lot for both of those teams, so he's used to that situation. If anything, he's scaling it back to playing a role in the NBA. So if you ask him to, put the ball on the floor a little bit more, I don't think it's something he's going to be uncomfortable with. Everyone got so focused on the shooting in Summer League, like people ignored the fact that he did that, right? He was great with the ball in his hands in Summer League. He had, I think 6-7 assists a game for the Celtics. He did a good job setting the guys up, even when his own shots weren't falling. And for what it's worth, his shots weren't falling. I thought he was getting good shots. Like the process of getting to the shots that he was taking, I thought he got open threes, right? I thought he was taking good shots for the most part. There were a couple where he was trying to desperately find a rhythm, obviously, like, as it goes, right? If a player is trying to find their three-point shot, they're going to take a couple silly ones. But for the most part, I thought he was doing a pretty good job of finding looks that were comfortable for him. Before we continue, I do need to tell you guys about PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action this baseball season. Basketball season is over, but that doesn't mean the action is done heating up on PrizePicks. Make sure to check it out. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000x your cash. Run your game all season long with PrizePicks. I've been using PrizePicks while I watch the Red Sox. Roman Anthony, Sedan Rafaela, everyone is hot. Alex Bregman has been great since he came back from the All-Star break. Make sure to check it out. This year's basketball playoffs obviously were a great time for PrizePicks as well. First-time champ in the Thunder. Make sure you don't miss out next time basketball comes around to cash in on history with PrizePicks. Sam and I do the PrizePicks every single pregame show. You just pick more or less, again, on at least 2 player props for a chance to win up to 2,000x your cash. You can do the under on opponent points. You can do the over on, Celtics players points if that's what you're looking for. You can do anything you want. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Okay, back to Baylor Scheierman. If I had to ask you, what is the floor and the ceiling for Baylor Scheierman, what would you go with?
It's a good question. I would say I don't want to give the same answer every time you ask me the floor, but the floor would be like him not taking any steps forward and just like not really taking advantage of the opportunity that's given to him this year. Like you don't see any consistency in the shot. You don't see any interesting creation in terms of drives. Like one thing that I really liked from Scheierman in Summer League, actually, even though he didn't make some of these shots, he did this thing when he would drive and he just awkwardly would stop. The defender would not be ready for it, and he would have a pretty open floater, which is, though it's open, difficult shot, especially when you're trying to change speeds like the way he was. If he's able to add that to his game, I would love it. I think it would be really cool. But yeah, to me, floor is like, we're all scratching our heads saying, what do they even see in this guy? I think it would have to be like almost like a Romeo situation where that was like the billing on Romeo. He's somebody who can create a little bit. He's a bigger body who can put the ball on the floor, and nothing ever really came with him. And he ends up getting traded to San Antonio, and then his career just kind of goes up in smoke, whatever. The ceiling for Scheierman would probably be somebody who is a reliable defender at 6'6", 6'7". He has the body to be switchable. Defense was a question mark going into last year. It was one of the things at Summer League that we saw. Like he's just kind of getting beat to the block on some of the drives and wasn't able to stick with some of the guys. If he can do that, add that to his game, and also thrive in the offensive opportunities he gets, like he's averaging 4 assists a game off the bench and doesn't turn the ball over very much and shoots, I don't know, let's say if he shot like 35, 36% from 3 would be like a thumbs up if he's getting a higher volume of opportunities. But I think like those things have to happen. But if you walked away from this season and be like, man, Scheierman's a pain in the ass for these dudes on defense, that would be a huge development for the Celtics because it would just be another guy that they can trust on both sides going forward. When Tatum's healthy, when the team's ready to compete again. I don't have like direct player comps. I don't know if that's where you're going for, but like those are the traits that I'm looking for when we're talking about floor versus ceiling for Scheierman next year.
Yeah, I think this floor is the shot regresses, right? Like summer league is actually what his shot profile looks like. It's not the 37% you saw in the G League. It's not the 37% you saw when he got regular minutes in Boston or in college or whatever. It is, okay, wow, this guy's just a really streaky shooter when he has a larger role, and ends up shooting like 34% from three on the season, 5 attempts a game, 6 attempts a game. Probably not what you want. Defense regresses. He still goes for a ton of steals and gets beat by, NBA caliber offensive players. Kind of slides back from what he showed at the end of last season, turns the ball over a little bit too much. Joe ends up yanking him because he's taking too many shots. Short leash continues. He doesn't really, gain any ground there. That's kind of like the floor, the lowest, point for where Scheierman can go. The ceiling would be gives you 25 minutes a night. Great secondary creator, can get you like 3-4 assists a game, really. Probably around 12 points, can make a couple threes a game, averaging, 1.8 to 2, right around that range. Shooting, I mean, if we're talking ceiling, shooting around 40% from three. I don't know if that's in the cards for Scheierman. I don't think he's that type of player. I would think it's probably going to be closer to like 38. And that 2% is a big difference. But ceiling 40% from three, like 12, 5 and 4 type player, do a little bit of everything for you. I know the Joe Ingles comps were there at the time of the draft, like that type of player. If he could grow into that type of guy, like something you would like for this Celtics team, even when Jason Tatum does come back. And any of those Jags wings, right? Like Royce O'Neal type player, George Niang, like they had all these types of guys who could just play a little bit of annoying defense and then hit their threes and make plays for others on offense. And I think those like Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert Jazz teams did a really good job of surrounding them with wings who could just kind of plug and play and do whatever. And if the Celtics are trying to do something similar, I think Scheierman has the mold of a guy who could grow into something like that. I don't know if the defense will ever really be there for Scheierman in terms of like being a plus defender. I think the best you can really hope for is a good team defender, doesn't get beat too easily, like holds his ground and waits for the help over defense to be there behind him. And, doesn't jump. I know that's something that he works on and that Celtics work on with like Cornette, with Hauser, with Pritchard, with Scheierman, is if you get, someone is driving on you, just don't jump, right? Just put your hands up and go back, because you're not going to get called for a foul that way. So worst case, they make a layup. Best case, it's good defense, but you're not going to give up any and ones. So that's something to work on with the guys who aren't necessarily coming into the league as great defenders. But I think that's the sort of ceiling for him. You start to see a real good progression to the high end role player that you envision him being. What percentage percentage you think he reaches the floor and the ceiling, and then that 1 to 100 number we've been doing of 0 being the floor and 100 being the ceiling?
Man, I think it's like 60. We've been optimistic. I think we've been optimistic.
For what? You've been optimistic.
Like the range. Like I think he gets 60%.
I know, but 60. Okay, 60% to the
yes.
Yes. Okay.
Like he's a little better than average. Like I said 35, 36% from three, just probably because in my mind I'm like, well, if he did that, like I would be happy. Like that'd be cool. Like, could he shoot 40%? Sure, he could, I guess. Like we would all be over the moon. But like that is more of like my prediction. Like 35, 36% from three, maybe take some steps forward as a defender. I think people will be impressed by him being able to put the ball on the floor, maybe like having chances to operate as a point guard type player. Like I think that's something that a lot of people, casual fans, don't really expect to see from Scheierman. And yeah, like that's my vision for like 60% of the way. Do I think there's like what's the chance of him hitting a ceiling versus a floor? I think it's probably more likely that he floors out than like takes this huge leap to hit the ceiling. But I think like if I had to put money down, like he'll take a small step forward.
So what's your number 1 to 160, or is that your percentage?
Like if we were like grading it,
0 is the floor, 100 is the ceiling.
Yes. So like his season will be a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
In that respect.
Okay. I see. If I had to put like percentages on it, like I think this percent he'll hit the floor versus this percent he'll hit the ceiling, I think I would do like 70-30. I've seen too much progression from him in other areas to think he'll hit the floor. And then if I had to pick a number where I think I'll be, I'd probably go like around that 65-ish range. Like I think he'll probably be around there to 70. The difference between that, because like I think I was a little bit different with Nimish Cade and Jordan Walsh, the two guys who've done this floor. The difference between those two guys and Baylor Scheierman, obviously Scheierman's only had one season, so there's been a lot smaller sample size to see. In 2 seasons of Jordan Walsh, what growth have you seen from Jordan Walsh? Truly. Like
his shot looks smoother.
His jump shot's a little bit better. He's a little bit calmer putting the ball on the floor. Outside of that, there's not really much, right? Nimish Cade, what growth have you seen? I think he's been a lot better passing the ball. I think he's done a little bit better job there, knowing when to grab the rebound and kick out. It's still not amazing. I think he's done a little bit of a better job knowing when to stay home and positioning wise, but really like still, fouling, still illegal screening, still a little step behind on defense and offense. With Scheierman, immediately you saw rough early season, didn't really play, to, oh, wow, this guy can really play in a rotation for you with everybody healthy, right? Like you immediately saw growth. There was immediate like flashes of, oh, wow, this guy can play. The only real flashes of Jordan Walsh we saw was his first summer league, right? This summer league was a nice little, bonus, and maybe that's going to be it for you. But like, he hasn't shown anything in the NBA, right? And Nimish Cade, he showed you flashes in that little stretch, like in the winter, over the winter, 2 years ago now? But since then, it's like he never built on it. Like he's never really built on those flashes he's shown. And again, maybe there's a chance Baylor Scheierman doesn't build on the flashes he's shown because he's only had one season. But I've seen signs of growth more from Baylor Scheierman than I have from the other two guys. And so I'm more confident then because I've seen the growth and I've seen the ability for growth that he will reach his ceiling. I don't think he's going to be a ceiling guy averaging like 15, 5, and 5 or anything crazy. But I think if you can get like 10 points, 3 assists out of Scheierman or 2.5 assists out of Scheierman, he's shooting 38% from 3. You're happy with that, right? You're happy with that. I think, honestly, the standard should be similar for Walsh. I think you should want that for Walsh too. I think for Cade, you should want like 10 and 10, almost a double-double with the fact that he's going to be a starter. So, we'll see what happens, but I'm pretty high on Scheierman heading into next season. I think he showed enough last year that you should be confident. But we can go to y'all's emails. A reminder, as always, you guys can email us at hbtcpod@gmail.com. That's hbtcpod@gmail.com. I believe we have at least a couple today. I'll double check because maybe I could be silly. But yeah, 2 emails today. One from RJ, that 78-79 history email that we didn't go over when I was on the Cape. We can do right now. And then we have one from Isaac. But first up, RJ, as my computer tries to share the screen. RJ says, some reboot history, the 78-79 season. Evening, folks. I promised some summertime Celtics content, and I want to be true to my word. Here's your look back on the first time I watched the Celtics rebuild the 78-79 season. All right. 79 Celtics. There are plenty of parallels between this summer's Celtics and the team from 47 years ago. A change in ownership, turnover in top players, coping with changes in the league. Back then, you had ABA players and teams impacting the style of play. Now, the CBA is altering how rosters are constructed and managed. To cap it off, you even have Celtics fans awaiting the arrival of a heralded forward. Was 78-79 a deliberate tank? No. Summer of 78, Celtics were coming off a poor season. Tom Heinsohn had been replaced mid-year as head coach by Satch Sanders. Importing former UCLA winners Sidney Wicks and Curtis Rowe was not paying off. John Havlicek retired, and the team had fallen to 32-50. Good news was that the mid-season acquisition of Kermit Washington fit well alongside Dave Cowens as a rebounding force. Cedric Maxwell had a solid rookie season coming off the bench, and in the 78 draft, June draft, Red Auerbach had acquired the rights to Larry Bird, along with 2-time collegiate scoring champ Freeman Williams and hustling swingman Jeff Judkins. As of early July, the lead into the 78-79 season was less of a tank and more of a continued recovery. So what happened? In late July, John Y. Brown and Henry Mangrian, sorry, I don't know how to say that, swapped their Buffalo franchise with Irv Levin for the Celtics so Levin could relocate a team closer to Southern California home. Levin had asked the NBA to let him move the Celtics, but the league said no to a San Diego relocation. Part of the franchise swap was a player trade. The Celtics sent out Washington, Williams, and recently signed center Kevin Cunnert and Sidney Wicks to the San Diego Clippers while receiving 3 of Brown's favorites. Point guard Tiny Archibald, who had missed the 78 season due to injury, high-scoring ABA swingman Billy Knight, and another ABA talent, Marvin Barnes, whose freewheeling game hadn't translated to the more conservative NBA. As quickly as Red had assembled the pieces he wanted, new owner John Y. Brown had shuffled them away. Auerbach was undaunted. By Christmas, the team went 10-8 after Cowens Was installed as a player coach, rebounding from a terrible 2-12 start. By early February, he had traded Knight for center forward Rick Roby, acquired shooting guard Chris Ford from Detroit, swapped out JoJo White and Dennis Autry for a pair of first-round picks in the 79 draft, and simply waived the disappointing Barnes on February 7th. 5 days after Barnes' departure, it was Brown's turn as he moved all 3 of the Celtics 79 first-rounders to the Knicks for All-Star center Bob McAdoo. Big Mac, while unmistakably talented, was just not the right fit for Boston's retool. The Celtics crashed after the deal, dropping from 23 and 32 to finish an even worse than the year before, 29 and 53. But thankfully not worse enough. At the time, the league did not have a draft lottery. The 2 teams with the worst records in each conference called a coin flip for who the first pick would be and who would pick second. Celtics finished 3 games better than New Orleans Jazz, the Eastern representative, who had traded their pick several years earlier to the Lakers. In the history of what ifs, you have to wonder that what the 80s would have looked like if the Celtics faced Magic as a New York Knick. Was it a successful rebuild? Yes, in spite of Brown's ownership. Even with all of John Y. Brown's meddling, the Celtics survived in style. Mangarin bought him out in the summer of '79, and the Celtics signed Bird before his draft rights expired, hired Bill Fitch as head coach, and even managed to load off Bob McAdoo as part of signing ML Carr, along with acquiring a pair of 1980 first-round picks from the Detroit that would complete the Celtics rebuild going into the 80s. Did the losing help? No. Apart from Sanders' bad start, the losses stem more from ownership interference than a deliberate tank. I would argue that Red Auerbach had the most impressive year as a general manager has ever put together, just in the course of outmaneuvering his own owner's impulses. What turned it around? Not just Bird. Larry made definite difference with his attitude, ability, and dedication to winning. He also joined a squad that featured a pair of 2-time champs in Cowens and Don Chaney, a former scoring and assist leader in Archibald, solid veterans in Carr and Ford, along with up-and-coming youngsters in Maxwell Roby, Gerald Henderson, and Jeff Judkins. Add into the Bill Fitch as head coach, and it wasn't just Larry being heroic. He joined a team that rallied around him. What lessons can we learn from it? Consistent focus pays off in the long run. When the 78-79 squad was clicking under Cowens, it went 21-20. Playing that pace for a full year would have gotten them to the playoffs. However, as obnoxious as Brown's moves were, it was flipping McAdoo into ML Carr and the picks that became Robert Parrish and Kevin McHale that elevated Boston to team of the decade. Maybe the ultimate lesson is to play to win based on the hand you have, not the one you wish for. Be well, RJ. We will run this as a fan post, but HBTC gets first crack at the content. Thank you, RJ.
Nice.
My biggest lesson from this is win, but trade for picks.
Yes.
That's what I took from this. I took this as win. So the Celtics should win with Jalen, Derek, and Peyton, but flip for as many firsts as they possibly can. Thoughts?
It'd be nice. I think GMs are too sharp nowadays. They're aware that the draft picks matter. It is funny, like, when you go back and, like, you read something like this or you watch Celtic City, and it's just like, yeah, they didn't care. Like, first round pick for this guy. Just no problem. Don't worry about it. Like, McAdoo was like a former MVP at this time. Like, no doubt that he's a good player. But he did not fit well here, and he's coming off like a terrible stretch, and yet they're still just getting a ton back for him. No selling low in the 1980s, late 70s.
Certainly not. Certainly not. At that point, when the Celtics traded him, he did average 21, 8, and 3 for the Pistons that next year. So I guess he wasn't terrible, but that was the end of the Bob McAdoo dominance. So
They wouldn't have played for the Lakers.
Yeah. Thanks, RJ. Last email today, Isaac says, what would a successful season be for the Celtics in your opinion? Well, we probably won't win the championship, but which players would you like to see take a leap or a theoretical perfect situation in the free agency happen next season next to Tatum? I love your opinion. Hope you guys are having a great day. Thanks, Isaac. Hope you're having a great day too. Successful season. I think if they win a round of the playoffs, I think that'd actually be huge for Jalen and Derek and Peyton and their confidence. I think Peyton taking that next step to averaging like close to 20. I think Derek continuing to develop as a shot creator for himself and getting the pressure there, I think is successful. And honestly, I think Nemish Queta developing into a legitimate rotation center where he can average, give you 25 plus minutes a night. I think that's a success for me. But I do think success, in my opinion, includes winning a playoff round.
Yeah, I think that's like a good bar to set. It depending on like how the season starts, like will shape my expectations. But what we have in front of us is a team that has the opportunity to be fun, which has not been the case here in a while, unless you're winning a title. Like, the only way we're all walking away from a season, like, man, that was fun, is if they had won the title. Like, the rest was like, man, 2025, the end of that was excruciating. 2023 was a heartbreak. They lose in 7 to Miami. 2022, thought they were going to win the title. They didn't. 2021 was a train wreck. And they were close just about every year. Like, there was a moment where you could have talked yourself into them winning the title. This is the first time in quite some time that you're just like, well, we'll just have to sit back and have fun. Like, there are no real expectations. Even the 2021 team that was by far the worst of the bunch, there were moments where you're coming off an Eastern Conference Finals appearance. You really felt you probably should have beat Miami. You have Kemba coming back. You start the season 8-3. Like, you're like, whoa, like maybe there's something here. Maybe the Celtics start well this year and we kind of tuck ourselves on and we start drinking the Kool-Aid and everything. But if they were to win a playoff series, that'd be great. I think the biggest thing is, like, you need, aside from the guys who have already established themselves on some level, you need somebody who is unestablished to become established, whether that is Scheierman, Walsh, Nemi. You need to come away from this season with something. If you're not tanking, that's fine. That's great. We don't really, on this show, fully believe they should tank. I'm probably more like, well, if they tanked, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world than Jack is. But, like, you need to have some sort of battle scar from this. It's like, yeah, we didn't do that well, but we learned that Ugo can play. Or we learned that Baylor Scheierman's a real piece that you can use off the bench. Like, there's something that you got from this. And if you tank, then the thing you got is the young player. But if you're not going to tank, then you need to have some of your young guys get some, like, calluses, as if you were, like, lifting weights or whatever you want to call it. Like, that's what the thing is for me. I'm looking for some development.
I think that's fair. And for what it's worth, I don't, if the Celtics got the first pick or did end up tanking and being in the lottery, I wouldn't, call it a failure. I think that'd be good. I just think the likelihood that they get a top 3 pick in this year's draft is so small that it is not worth trying to bottom out and gut, because I don't think they will be bad enough to do so. And like, if Jaylen Brown or Derek White or Peyton Pritchard, knock on wood, does end up getting hurt, then that completely changes things. But you have those 3 guys, you have Joe Mazzulla, you have a roster and a staff and guys who are not, designed or built to lose, right? I just don't think it's going to be that likely, especially in the Eastern Conference. But if the Celtics are sitting here in mid-March with a chance to get a top 3 pick, tank, obviously, right? Like, I'm not going to be foolish. Okay, let's move to the NBA. First thing we have is Luka Doncic signed a massive contract extension, 3 years, $165 million. That is equivalent to $55 million a year for average annual value. Signed it with the Lakers, has a player option in the final season, so he can opt out and sign a new deal for 35% of the cap, which means he'll also be eligible for a no trade clause, supermax extension, everything by then. Sounds like the Lakers are doing everything possible to keep him in LA for as long as possible, and you know what? That probably makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it was a lot more fun when we could be like, what if he leaves? Sadly, he's not leaving. At least not yet. Like, every time an extension gets done, we kind of fall into this where we're like, man, looks like he's sticking around for a while. But the reality is, like, Luka could wake up tomorrow, probably not tomorrow, like, let's say after a February trade deadline that doesn't go well, and be like, I actually don't want to be here anymore, and then, like, force his way out next summer. That's just how contracts work in the NBA now. The players are privy. They're all in on the bag getting. Nobody wants to be Dennis Schroeder anymore, where it's like, man, that guy missed out on so much money because he didn't sign an extension and he bet on himself. There's nothing to lose if you're Luka here by signing an extension with the Lakers. The moment you don't want to be there anymore, if that day comes, you just tell your agent, and then we'll all just be sitting here like, where's Luka going to play next? That's just how the NBA is now. The free agency is dead.
Yeah, to a degree, free agency is pretty dead. I mean, they've made it to the point where it is dead, right? Like, no, what is the benefit of a player going into free agency? Why would they want to do that? Yeah, why would they want to do that? Unless they truly just want to go to a new situation. Like, it's really only for those second tier stars. Like, there's no benefit for a superstar to go into free agency anymore, because they've set it up where the team that has had them the longest can pay them the most money. So why would the players want to give up on the most money, right? So it makes sense. But obviously, I mean, this was always going to happen for Luka and the Lakers. It makes a ton of sense. They just traded for him. He's going to be the future of their franchise. They're going to do everything they can to build around him. giving him all the money in the world. Like if you were ever going to give a supermax extension to a player, it is Luka Doncic, even though the Mavericks just proved that maybe they didn't want to do that. So good for Luka, good for the Lakers. This was obvious as they come for in the NBA.
It's funny your point about like superstars. There's nothing for them to gain by going into free agency. We literally see guys that don't want to be on the team anymore opt into contracts now. Like, they have the chance to become a free agent. James Harden a couple years ago didn't want to play in Philly anymore. Opts into the final year of his deal and then requests a trade. The craziest, most backwards thing ever is how it works in the NBA now. And, I mean, this year is much different than I think at that point it was, because now more and more teams and more players have adopted this as like the way things go. The Nets were the only team this year with any money. So if you became a free agent and you wanted to get paid, you were going to be a Brooklyn Net, which nobody did. Nobody.
Well, theoretically, there's other ways around it, but yes, by and large, right? Like signing trades or all these other things, right? There are ways to go around it. I'll also say this though, like if you're the Lakers, would you rather Luka sign this and request a trade, or would you rather him go to free agency?
Oh yeah, you want something back.
Exactly. Like I don't think the teams are going to complain too much about it either, right? Because now instead of having LeBron James leave Cleveland for nothing, if LeBron played in that Miami, Cleveland, whatever debacle happened in this era, at least the Cavs probably would have gotten something good for it, right? Like at least they would have gotten a couple things back in return. There would have been a bidding war. Now it's just back then it was just you get a couple seconds and a quote unquote sign and trade to make the money work, and see you later, right? So I don't think either side is complaining too much in this. It's just kind of the way the CBA has forced the NBA to go in terms of money and free agency and whatever.
Now, oftentimes when there is a superstar trade, we're like, how stupid is that team? They have to deal with that contract for this amount of years, and they give up this much draft capital, or like they had to gut the rest of the roster to get him on the team. Like, it's just hilarious how anytime you want to make a move in the NBA, there's a lot of potential backlash. Like, you brought up a great point with the LeBron thing. If LeBron had to be traded, either of his departures would not have been as whoa. It would have been like, is this the right move for Cleveland or Miami? Like, Miami probably would have had to give up I don't know. I guess technically in retrospect, Miami had lined up where a lot of money would come off the books and they would have enough cap to sign 2 free agents. So they were kind of trading guys without trading them. They were just off shipping out players to clear the cap. So maybe that's not a great point. But yes, Luka
it is what it is.
Sticking around.
Luka will be a Laker as, the sky is blue. Next, NBA, Giannis is apparently definitely going to be a Buck. This is from Shams. He's doing a lot of reporting on it today. I saw him go live on ESPN, etc. just as we were going, or there's a video on his Twitter. I didn't watch yet, but Shams says, sources tell me there's still nothing set in stone about whether Giannis will stay in Milwaukee or whether he will be leaving. And so he's continuing to evaluate his future. I reported it in mid-May that he's evaluating whether his best fit in Milwaukee or is it elsewhere. And that process is continuing. Pete, I don't know Pete if he's talking to someone. The constant question that Giannis has though is, can I win a championship with this roster? Is this roster going to be one for this upcoming year and 26-27? He wants to win a second championship. So he's asking that question over and over. There are multiple teams waiting in the wings potentially if Giannis this offseason still makes that decision. Also mentioned something about it being a very difficult one for him because he spent so much time there. Obviously he loves Milwaukee, all that stuff, but we still technically don't know what's going to happen with Giannis in Milwaukee. I don't think Giannis knows what's going to happen with Giannis in Milwaukee, but I think every team around the league would love to know what's about to happen, but we'll see.
It would be great if we found out what was going to happen. It would probably give us so much content, especially with the way the Celtics are now. We'd be like, what if they went and got him? Even if it would never happen in a million years, we'd be like, what if he was on the Celtics? And we could really dive into that. But the Giannis thing is weird because typically I hate this stuff where it's maybe he wants to leave. And this is a nothing burger report from Shams. He literally tells you in the middle of his report that it's a nothing burger because he says, I reported this in mid-May and it's the same. It's what he says.
Well, I don't think so. I think there was a lot of stuff since that mid-May reporting that was like, okay, he's going to stay. Like Giannis literally was in Brazil and said like, I'm going to stay in Milwaukee. And then now Shams reporting like, no, it's actually he still doesn't know what he wants to do. So I don't think it's necessarily a nothing burger. I think it's more of a like, hey, I don't know why everyone started assuming he stayed in Milwaukee. Like we still really don't know, even though we are team of the summer.
But like now it kind of makes sense with Miles Turner and the Dame waving stretch and the rest of the roster being not good, and there's no real way for them to get better unless they trade Giannis or like they get very lucky with development. I don't really know. Milwaukee is in such a shitty spot. I've seen not seeing stuff, but like I saw earlier in the week like betting odds of like Chris Middleton's next team if he gets bought out. Like that would be a nice lifeline. It's not the Chris Middleton of old, but it would be like cool to have him back. He knows how to fit next to Giannis. Giannis probably trusts him. Can he stay healthy? Maybe not, but if you're bringing him back, he's probably not on a big contract. So the risk is like low risk, high reward type of play. Like that's the sort of thing they would need to work out for them, or one of these younger guys they have blossoms into a real rotation guy. Giannis would be right to be skeptical of a team that Kyle Kuzma is the second or third best dude. And you're like, what can you do for me, Big Kuz?
It's not great. I don't know. Like, if I'm Giannis, I would have gone a month ago. I would have said, see you later. I don't want to be here. This team sucks. But at the same time, I'm not Giannis, and I don't have the same love for the city of Milwaukee that he very clearly has. Like, I haven't spent 12 years of my life there. I haven't, come over from Greece to a new part of the world just to join a team there, right? Like there's a lot that goes into this decision. It's way more than just, okay, I want to win basketball games. Obviously, when you stay in a city for over a decade like Giannis has and then build roots and a connection like he has. But if you're now Giannis, the question becomes like, where would you want to go? Like what team would make sense for you as a team to join where you could win a championship? Because the Rockets were probably the best team, but I don't know if they really have the means to do it anymore. If they did, it would be crazy. Giannis and Kevin Durant on the same team. You know what? Actually, in theory, they probably do have the means, right? It would just have to be a Şengün trade. And if you're the Rockets, the question would then be, would you trade Şengün for Giannis? Would you trade Şengün for Giannis?
We'd be having the same conversations like I alluded to in the Luka thing, where like, did they give up too much to get Giannis? Like they were set up to be a championship level team, and now they're without Şengün and like take your pick of like the other players. But then it's like, well, it's Giannis. You have Giannis on your team. Like thinking about like the conversations we were having earlier in the summer when we didn't really know what was going to happen with the Celtics and the Giannis stuff was pretty uncertain. And we were like, well, like, would you go get Giannis if it cost you this? And like, we kind of landed on yes, but it has a real chance to blow up in your face. If it
would you trade Şengün, Jabari Smith, and Reed Shepherd for Giannis? You'd be left with a rotation of Kevin Durant, Fred VanVleet, Steven Adams, Dorian Finney-Smith, Amen Thompson, Clint Capella, Tari East, and Giannis.
The problem is, like, I don't know if they fill the Shepherd hole. Like, do they believe in J.D. Davison?
J.D. Davison, Aaron Holiday, Josh Okogie. I mean, you'd have to sign another guard, but
you probably do.
You could.
You'd probably do it. Because Reed Shepherd, as much as, like, we all like him and stuff, like, from Houston's perspective, last season they were the 2 seed and they didn't play him. Like,
I mean, I think it's more about losing Şengün and Jabari Smith. Obviously, he's your best 3-point shooter in the starting lineup you just extended, and you lose apparent Şengün, who is 24 years old, 25 years old. Like,
yeah,
a lot older there. But then who else trades for Giannis? Like the Knicks. Knicks probably would want Giannis. I think that would be a team that makes sense. I don't know how they would make it happen or what the Bucks would want. I mean,
Brooklyn would be there. Every time
Brooklyn
you hear this Giannis
there.
stuff, it's Brooklyn covers Giannis.
The Spurs, theoretically, could be there, doing everything they want.
Spurs just getting every tall freak.
I wonder if Portland would just be like a sneaky team. How funny would that be?
He's back with Dame Andrew Holiday. I mean, one of them would have to get traded probably for it to work, right? Unless they just give up their entire younger core.
Yeah, true. Jeremy Grant contract.
Oh, that's a blessing in disguise.
Jeremy Grant contract. So low key. Wait, hold on.
Lakers. I mean, if Giannis requests a trade, the Lakers will be there.
Yeah.
Everyone will be like, he's going to go to the Lakers. It's just the rules.
That's very true.
Phoenix.
Wait, theoretically, let me cook for a quick second here. Yeah, theoretically, you could do. I mean, I don't think they'd want to do it, but you could do like Jeremy Grant, Scoot Henderson, and Hansen Yang for Giannis, and then picks.
Part of the Hansen Yang PR stuff coming out of like all the dudes that are talking about him is to get Giannis.
Giannis.
Like Holiday doing his opening presser and is like, this dude's incredible. He's playing like a superstar behind the scenes, and he's just texting Giannis like
it
the
also
domino
works.
is falling.
Jeremy Grant, Robert Williams, and Scoot Henderson instead. So like it wouldn't just have to be that, but like you could find a way to get Giannis. Is my point if you're the Blazers, and then give all the picks. You could give Milwaukee. You could give Milwaukee their picks back. That would be why it makes sense. Milwaukee would get
kind of hilarious.
Milwaukee would get their picks back in the deal. Like it'd be like the trade the Nets made with the Rockets, where the Nets gave them all the Suns picks and they got their own picks back so they could tank. The Bucks would trade for Scoot Henderson, Jeremy Grant, or Robert Williams, and all their picks plus more picks so they could actually tank and actually reset their roster. And then the Blazers get Giannis, Drew Holiday, Dame, Hansen Yang, Donovan Clingan, Denny Avdija, Shaedon Sharpe, and go.
The Giannis picks thing has not happened yet. We're just talking hypotheticals. But the fact that is like a real thing that like makes sense to us, I feel like there's going to be an era in the NBA where we're talking about almost like a loan system where like, or I wouldn't even say loan. We'll say like pawn. It's like going to a pawn shop and you trade something in that's valuable to you and they give you cash you need at the moment. So you're trading in your picks and they hold your picks. And then when you give them their player back, you get your picks back. Or like something like you do something to get your picks back in the long run.
It wholly depends on just like if the Blazers were still tanking right now, they obviously wouldn't do it, but they seem like they want to take a step forward. So if it works out, why not? It could help. So I don't know. We'll see. Okay, Rat List. Go ahead.
Rat List. I forgot this the last time we did a show. It was a hectic day, and it was better timing than it is now. So last Thursday was the first preseason football game, like the Hall of Fame game. That is the worst day of the year. Going on Twitter on Hall of Fame game day is the worst because you just have all these people on there being like, football back today. And it's like a gif of, I think it's No Sean Moreno crying on the sidelines. Like just all of like the, man, we made it. It's like, it's a nothing preseason game. Like, shut up. We don't act like that when they play.
You're a dumbass. You're about to say we don't act like that when the Celtics are back.
No, let me finish. Okay. It is one thing if it's your team. The thing I think that really gets under my skin with football is it doesn't matter if it's like your team that's playing. It's just like, man, I get to watch a football game. Like if
I do that with
like a couple years ago when Dallas played, they either played Real Madrid or they played like another team in Spain, and we were like, man, basketball's back today. Like, shut up, dude. Just shut up. Like, okay, if you were a diehard Chargers fan, that was your thing. Like, sure, be excited the Chargers.
If you want to make this rat list because you hate football, that's 100% fine. It's you trying to make it sound like it's worse. People do that for basketball. People do that for baseball. People do that for every single sport. It's just because you don't like football.
It's not as universal. It's annoying when the football people do it.
That's because you hate football, and football is universally loved. It is not any different from any sport. It is just because you're deep-rooted hate, which is fine. You can absolutely make that because you hate football.
I hate the NFL.
Not any difference. Sure, that's fine. I'm excited. I'm excited for football to be back. I think Patriots are a fun team. I'm not going to talk about it now to piss you off, but I'm excited for fantasy. I'm amped. I'm ready to go.
Well, you're allowed to be excited, and you're excited for the Patriots. That was the first thing you said. You said, I'm excited the Patriots are going to be a good team.
And fantasy football.
Fine.
That is why people care about
fantasy football.
Fantasy football is so big. But that's why people are excited for. That's what I'm saying, though. This is why people are more universally excited for every football team because they have a wider investment because fantasy football is so big.
Yeah, but there's no fantasy football for Hall of Fame game day.
Okay, no, but you want me to be sick? I've been tinkering with my fantasy football all roster so I can look at the Hall of Fame game. Oh, what rookies look good? What people should I look to pick up on the waiver wire? Is the 5th round draft pick I just picked up on the Raiders doing well in preseason? Is he getting snaps with the first team? This is why because everyone wants to know how their players are doing. Is Ashton Genty actually going to get carries this summer? Is Quinshon Judkins,
What
who's
team
kind of
drafted Genty?
bad dude, Raiders, right?
Raiders.
Is Dante Thornton, who's the 6'5" Raiders wide receiver drafted in the 4th or 5th round, who ran a 4.3 at the combine, who I picked up yesterday, going to play well? That's why people are excited at this point, because they've spent all summer saying, oh, who should I add? Who can be better? What can I do? Who should I draft? Should I add somebody in my dynasty league? No one's doing that for fantasy basketball. People, but that's why. That doesn't happen at all for basketball. Like, fantasy football is infinitely more popular in fantasy basketball than in fantasy baseball. Like, that is why it is a more universal feeling, because people
fantasy
have more
baseball is
investment
sneaky
in
popular,
everybody.
by the way.
I know
People
more
like
so
that.
than basketball.
Yeah,
it was the first fantasy sport I played, but I think that's certainly why people are more invested in football other than their own team than other sports.
Yeah, I think it's annoying. I think, like, there's nothing wrong, like, when you're like if it was opening Sunday of the NFL and you're excited, sure. Like, that I get. Like, the games count, like, and so on. The meaningless preseason, the meaningless preseason part of this, which I haven't even spoken on yet, is the thing that, like, it really fucking bugs me. It doesn't matter. If you're excited for the opening night Thursday game, like where the Super Bowl champion hosts somebody on the NBC game, yeah, like, that's exciting. Like, me and the boys will go to Buffalo Wild Wings.
People will do this for basketball too.
Not like the preseason. Not like this.
Yes. People love
it's not
basketball.
the same. It's a different thing. It's a different, like, level of it.
Because you don't like football.
I'm telling you, just the volume is different. It's like my entire timeline is that.
That's because more people like football than basketball.
Yeah, but, like, I'm saying, like, the volume of it is annoying.
All right. We're not going to get anywhere.
No.
I don't know what else I have. What I have for Ret List. I didn't do anything yesterday. My roommates and I sat in the living room and rebuilt the St. Louis Cardinals and MLB The Show for 6 hours.
That's a fun day.
No complaints.
It's kind of fun
that's
that
what I'm saying.
do that kind of thing together.
That's what I'm saying. I don't really have any complaints. We traded for Roman Anthony and Jackson Holiday.
How did Saturday go? What did you do Saturday? You had a busy day.
Oh, yeah. Saturday was good. We did pub golf. So we went to, like, different bars, and it was like pub golf is basically
Okay,
so
great.
First hole was at Boston Landing, and we did a fishbowl, and there were 5 people per team, and it was every sip it took you to finish a drink was a stroke. And so it's golf, so you're aiming for the lowest number of strokes. And so everyone at the second hole, we all got a beer, and it took me 3 sips to finish my beer. And so that's 3, and then add up the scores for my team. It took, Michaela 2. It took other people 3, 5, 6, 2, 1. And you add up all the strokes, and whichever team has the fewer strokes at the end wins.
Sounds
the rat list, though, is up by the 6th
Uber's
bar. Yeah. And the T. I mean, we have a train system. So
that's true.
Yeah. The worst part is by the 6th bar, though, people got bored, and so they just stopped doing pub golf, which is fucking whack. Like, 2 people just got bored to the point where there weren't even teams anymore, so we just stopped doing the pub golf. Which
I feel like that's how, like, people get when they drink more and more, and they become less focused.
That was whack. No, everyone, it wasn't like everyone got not unfocused. It was like there were like 10 of us, and 2 people didn't want to do it anymore, and so everyone stopped. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, it was what it was. That's all I have. I really don't have anything else. I had a pretty good weekend. It was chill. It was easy. I'm happy to be back in Boston, hanging out. Less hectic.
Rat list is timing. I put it on the sheet. Probably wasn't worth like a Celtics segment. And I also added it mid-show, so we'll talk about it now. Drew Holiday Nike Air Zoom GT Cut 3 quote-unquote Celtics edition is releasing on August 28th. So there is a new Drew Holiday sneaker, Celtic themed. Looks pretty cool. It's got a cream base, green swoosh, little 4 on the back of it, gray tongue, white heel. I like the shoe. Might buy the shoe. Sad timing. Is he going to wear this up at Moda Center in Portland? Maybe.
Bad
Maybe
timing.
He'll wear it when they come back to the Garden. He gets like his tribute video and they just pan to the sneaks.
It's like when I bought the Isaiah Thomas shoes the day he was traded, right before. Damn shame.
Isaiah was so cool, man.
Isaiah rocked. Agree.
Rat list, not rat list, interesting list. Maybe rat list, depending on like how it affects my health. It's a little too soon to tell. Don't worry. We got at the apartment a Ninja Creamy. Are you familiar with the Ninja Creamy?
I understand the concept.
So you make, for those that are not familiar with a Ninja Creamy you make homemade ice cream, and you can make it out of like pretty much anything. Like it'll make it into like an ice cream. Like we made one that will like we literally put watermelon in a blender and like put like a little bit of lemonade and like made like Italian ice. Like you can do that. You can make actual ice cream. Me and the lady been eating ice cream every day, but we control what goes in the ice cream, so you're probably eating more ice cream than you would regularly eat, but it's healthy. But you're eating more ice cream than you would regularly eat. So it's an interesting conundrum. It's a lot of fun. It's like addicting. It's like, man, which one can we make now? Like that's the beauty of ice cream. You go into an ice cream shop, and they have a billion flavors. When we went to Block Island and they had all the flavors, it's like, man, wish I could try all of these. Well, now I can. And I can make it so it's like not unhealthy for me to try all these things. So I got like a recipe book for the Ninja Creamy that she found. Went on the Reddit for Ninja Creamy. It's gonna be but you're gonna have to come to Providence to have some Ninja Creamy. We'll set you up with a pint of the Ninja Creamy.
Jesus. Oh, what's the best ice cream flavor you made? Have you done anything like outlandish or just normal shit?
So the first day we got the Ninja Creamy, we made a vanilla, we made a coffee flavor, and we made a chocolate. The vanilla was really good. One of like the key elements is like pudding mix, fat-free pudding mix, or sugar-free pudding mix rather. And so we used cheesecake for the vanilla, and it had an interesting like rich taste. I don't know what we did for the chocolate. The chocolate was unbelievable. Like, I don't know if you've been here and had Greg's chocolate cake, but in Rhode Island, and people from Rhode Island will know, and Azad will know. Shout out to Azad, because I got him some chocolate cake from Greg's. It is like a famous thing. It's super rich. The Death by Chocolate cake is like the pinnacle of chocolate cake. This ice cream tasted just like it. Like, it was the ice cream version. Whatever cocoa powder mix we put in it was perfect. We have not been able to replicate it since, and we're just chasing the rush.
This is so off topic from like the actual cake flavor, but you know the people you can only say the first and last name for? Like you can't say like Derek, like Derek White. You can't just say like the kids in high school who it was never just that's John. It would be like oh no that's John Smith. It was always a first and last name type of person.
I mean, there's a lot of celebrity in that.
You saying Ninja Creamy over and over instead of just like the creamy or just like shortening it was just really fun. You're in the middle, yeah. Like when we got the Ninja Creamy, like you were doing a fucking brand deal.
Well, listen. Creamy. So the Ninja Creamy was not my idea, by the way. For the first like 2 weeks we lived here, the Ninja Creamy was like Kaylin was the squirrel in Ice Age, and the Ninja Creamy was her acorn. Like that was the relationship that she had with this idea. She was on Facebook Marketplace. She was trying to get it. She would go back and forth with people. Somebody wouldn't be around. She couldn't go get it. The price was out of the range. The drive was too far. There was always something. And you bet your ass Ray had a Ninja Creamy that he was not using anymore. So we negotiated a deal and got it done. And we brought the Ninja Creamy home. And now it sits in the kitchen.
Well, there you go. Enjoy the creamy. That's all I have. I don't have anything else. You have anything else?
I think that's it for me.
All right.
Raged on Xbox for the first time since moving.
Fun.
Spiked the controller. Star with my girlfriend.
Yep. Yeah. That'll happen. What with the show?
College
what were
football.
You playing? Yep. Okay.
Lost a game I shouldn't have lost to a user in the league. Was pissed.
Yep.
Was pissed.
What team are you?
I am South Carolina once again.
Ended in that league with Henry?
Not with Henry. In Henry's league, I'm Oregon State. Lost my game to Frank in that league. It was fucking brutal.
Is he Tulane? Is he for me?
He's Tulane.
Fuck yeah. Good shit. All right. Anyways, appreciate your opportunity again. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll let Sam take it out.
Hey, thank you very much for listening and watching. Make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you think of the Ninja Creamy. We will be here every single day with new content. Full pods drop Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. Game recaps up the morning after each game when the season's back, and other videos are here in between to keep you up to date with all things Celtics. You can find the two of us on Spotify and Apple too. All pods and game recaps are there. Make sure you follow and leave a 5-star review. We'd appreciate that very much. You can email us, hbtcpod@gmail.com. We're reading them every single time we do the show. Big shout out to RJ. Big shout out to Isaac, who sent in emails today. This is the time of year for emails. You can send me Ninja Creamy recipes if you want. You can send recommendations. You can send rat lists. You can send anything you would like. We are looking to fill as much time as possible throughout August and September. hbtcpod@gmail.com. Our socials are at How About Them C's for Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Facebook's the name of the podcast. All streams are there. They're on YouTube. They're on Twitter. Jack's Twitter's Jackson NBA. Mine's at Samuel France NBA. That's it for us.
Taco, come on.
Taco's having